Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered why love seems to come so easily for some, yet feels almost impossible for you? Why the world worships beauty like it's a passport to worth, and if you don't have it, you're left standing outside the gates, invisible? It's a brutal question, but it's one that burns in silence inside millions of hearts, because no one wants to admit that in today's world, being unattractive feels like a curse. You notice it everywhere, in the way eyes slide past you, in the way conversations end before they even begin, in the way dating apps become walls instead of doors. And it hurts. It hurts not because you crave validation, but because you just want to be seen, truly seen, for who you are beyond the surface. The modern dating world doesn't reward depth. It rewards display. It's built on filters, perfection, and algorithms designed to sell fantasy, not connection. And if you don't fit that fantasy, the system doesn't just ignore you, it erases you. It teaches you that your value depends on how desirable you appear, not how deeply you love, not how loyal you are, not how real your soul is. You begin to question your worth, even though your worth was never the problem. Society has simply decided that appearance equals importance, and that's the first lie we must destroy, because what's truly tragic isn't rejection. It's the way rejection convinces you to reject yourself. When the world doesn't mirror your beauty, you start believing you have none. You lower your voice, you dim your confidence, you tell yourself you'll be happy later once you look better. But that's a trap. You can't wait for the world to validate you before you start valuing yourself. Confidence isn't born from approval, it's born from defiance. It's the courage to say, even if the world doesn't see my light, I will not live in darkness. Here's the truth no one tells you. Attraction fades, but energy endures. And while you can't control the features you were born with, you can control the presence you radiate. Energy has its own beauty. Raw, magnetic, undeniable. People remember how you make them feel long after they forget how you look. When you walk with self-respect, when you speak with quiet certainty, when you love without needing permission, you become powerful beyond appearance. You shift from seeking attention to commanding respect. This isn't about pretending looks don't matter. They do, but only in a world that's forgotten what connection means. The right person won't fall in love with your angles or your pixels. They'll fall in love with your essence, your courage, your laughter, your depth, your energy that can't be captured in a photo. And while it may take longer, what you'll build will be real. It won't disappear when the lights fade or when someone younger walks by. So stay, listen, because what comes next will challenge everything you've believed about attraction, love, and worth. The pain you've carried isn't a punishment. It's preparation. It's shaping you into someone the shallow world can't handle, but the right soul will never forget. By the end of this, you won't just understand modern dating, you'll understand yourself. And that understanding will make you unstoppable. The world has trained you to believe that beauty is the highest form of currency. From every screen, every scroll, every ad, it whispers that your worth depends on how many people desire you. And when you don't fit the mold, that whisper becomes a scream inside your mind. It tells you you're not enough. It tells you to hide. It tells you to wait for permission to be loved. But here's the truth. The moment you let others define your value, you give them control over your soul. You let the shallow measure something sacred. That is the greatest mistake you can make. You were not born to compete in a popularity contest disguised as love. You were born to express something deeper, something real, authenticity. Realness is rare, and in a world obsessed with illusion, the rarest thing becomes the most powerful. People may chase beauty, but they stay for energy. The ones who build connection through looks will always need more to fill their emptiness. But the one who connects through presence, through depth, through authenticity, becomes unforgettable. That's your advantage. Not your face, but your essence. Not your surface, but your strength. Psychology tells us that attraction is not just visual, it's emotional. Confidence releases chemicals in the brain that trigger warmth and trust. Purpose makes you magnetic. Kindness reshapes how people perceive your entire appearance. The energy you carry changes how others experience you. When you walk like someone who knows they bring value, people feel it before they see it. That's not delusion, that's science. Humans are wired to respond to power, not perfection. And real power isn't loud or arrogant, it's calm, certain, grounded. The greatest shift happens when you stop trying to be liked and start trying to be respected. When you stop chasing validation and start building self-respect, your energy transforms. You stop bending for attention. You stop auditioning for love. You stop letting rejection define your reflection. You begin to understand that not being chosen doesn't mean you're unworthy. It simply means you're not meant to shrink to fit someone's small perception of value. Every time you look at yourself and wish to change something, remember this. Your flaws are not proof of your inadequacy. They are proof of your humanity. The world may glorify perfection, but humans connect through imperfection. We fall in love with what's real, not what's flawless. You are not meant to be admired from afar like a statue. You are meant to be felt, understood, experienced. You are not here to impress. You are here to express. And when you finally accept that, something powerful happens inside you. The anger turns into focus. The pain becomes fuel. The loneliness becomes a teacher. You begin to rebuild your worth, not on beauty, but on being. That shift makes you unstoppable, because no one can take it from you. Looks can fade, trends can die, but self-respect, that never loses power. You may not be the person who gets 100 matches in a day, but you can become the person who, when you walk into a room, changes the energy without saying a word. You can become the one who no longer asks, "Why doesn't anyone want me?" and instead says, "Why would I waste myself on anyone who can't see me?" That's when you stop living in reaction and start living in truth. That's when the world begins to feel your presence, not your looks, but your power. The moment you stop trying to prove your worth to others, you begin to feel what true peace actually is. The noise starts to fade, the comparisons lose their grip. The mirror stops being your enemy, because you finally understand that the real battle was never about beauty. It was about belief. The world has taught you to measure your reflection instead of your direction. But the truth is, purpose is more attractive than perfection. There's a glow that comes from knowing who you are, even when the world doesn't agree. That glow cannot be edited, filtered, or faked. It's born in silence, built through pain, and strengthened through every moment you choose self-respect over self-pity. Modern dating thrives on insecurity. It keeps you addicted to approval, scrolling for validation, waiting for attention like a drug that never lasts. The system is designed to make you chase what fades. It's not love, it's consumerism dressed as connection. But you are not a product. You are not here to compete for desire. You are here to awaken, to realize that real love doesn't chase trends. It transcends them. And when you stop needing to be chosen, you begin to choose with clarity. That's when you start attracting differently, because your energy changes from desperate to deliberate. It's not about pretending that attraction doesn't matter. It's about realizing that attraction built on insecurity is never love. It's validation disguised as affection. You don't want to be wanted for the surface of you. You want to be needed for the soul of you. The person who truly values you won't need you to perform beauty. They'll feel your presence and recognize something rare: truth. And truth will always outlast trends. The moment someone feels your authenticity, they feel safe. And safety is the foundation of love, not appearance. You owe it to yourself to stop shrinking just because the world doesn't understand your kind of beauty. You owe it to yourself to stop apologizing for being real in a world that rewards fake. Because the more you conform, the more invisible you become. Your uniqueness is your rebellion. Your presence is your protest. Every time you stand tall and own who you are, you challenge an entire culture built on comparison. You become a mirror that reflects truth instead of illusion. The irony of it all is that the moment you stop chasing beauty, you become beautiful. Because beauty without authenticity is hollow, but authenticity without apology is magnetic. People can sense it. The calm in your energy, the steadiness in your eyes, the quiet certainty that you don't need to prove anything anymore. That's the kind of presence that silences rooms. That's the kind of confidence that makes the world turn its head without understanding why. And when that moment comes, when you feel power rising inside you instead of doubt, remember this: you did that. You built that strength through rejection, through loneliness, through every silent night that taught you to love yourself when no one else did. That's the kind of power no app, no algorithm, no trend can replicate. It's raw, it's real, and it's yours. The harsh reality of being unattractive was never a curse. It was the catalyst that forced you to find what most people never will: a love that begins and ends with you. Most people spend their entire lives trying to look lovable instead of becoming love itself. They decorate the surface while their soul starves beneath it. But you're different. You've seen what it feels like to be overlooked, to be measured by standards that were never designed for you. And that pain, as cruel as it's been, gave you vision. You see through the illusion now. You understand that appearance might attract attention, but authenticity attracts alignment. You no longer crave the empty high of being wanted. You crave the sacred peace of being understood. That shift is everything. It's what turns insecurity into wisdom and rejection into clarity. There's something powerful about those who've known loneliness. They don't love the same way everyone else does. They love deeper, they listen harder, they see beyond surface masks. They don't chase, they connect. Because they know the cost of superficial love. They've lived it. When you've been unseen for too long, you learn to value what can't be taken away. You stop begging for recognition, and you start living like someone who doesn't need permission to exist. That's when your energy changes completely. You stop needing to be beautiful to belong. You start belonging to yourself. Every time you stop comparing yourself to someone else, you reclaim a piece of your power. Every time you look in the mirror and say, "I am enough as I am," you rewire your brain to believe it. Psychology proves it. Repetition creates reality. The more you affirm your worth, the more your mind begins to align with it. And when your mind shifts, your energy transforms. People can feel it, even before they understand it. The ones who once ignored you will sense something different, not in how you look, but in how you move. Confidence has a frequency. It speaks before words do. You're not supposed to fit in. You're supposed to stand out by standing firm. The world might try to convince you that your difference is your disadvantage, but that's a lie born of fear. The truth is, the world needs the kind of beauty that can't be filtered or edited, the kind that radiates from character, conviction, and presence. That's the kind of beauty that never ages, never fades, and never needs validation. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to remind others that depth still matters. The harsh reality is that many will never see your value because they've never looked beyond the surface of their own. But that doesn't make you unworthy. It makes you rare. And rarity is never popular at first. Diamonds aren't noticed in dirt. They're revealed under pressure. Every rejection, every lonely night, every ignored message, it's all shaping you, refining you, strengthening the light inside you until it can't be ignored anymore. What once felt like punishment was preparation. When you finally stop fighting to be seen and start focusing on becoming whole, everything begins to shift. The universe always responds to energy that's rooted in truth. You start attracting people who see you, not for your features, but for your frequency. And those connections will feel different. They won't drain you, they'll recognize you, they'll meet your soul where it is, not where society says it should be. That's the moment you'll realize you never needed to be attractive to be loved. You only needed to be awake to your own worth, your own energy, your own power to define what love truly means. The more you begin to see your worth through your own eyes, the more the world starts to reflect it back to you. It's not magic, it's energy. Confidence is not something you fake until you make, it's something you embody until it radiates. When you stand in self-acceptance, people feel it. The energy of someone who no longer seeks approval is magnetic in a way beauty alone can never be. You become unpredictable in a world that feeds on insecurity. You become untouchable in a system built to make you doubt yourself. That is what true transformation looks like. Not changing who you are to fit into love, but becoming so complete that love has to rise to meet you. Most people never reach this state because they live as mirrors of other people's opinions. They base their worth on reactions, likes, comments, glances, attention. They chase validation like it's oxygen, unaware that it's suffocating their spirit. But when you finally stop chasing and start creating your own sense of value, something remarkable happens. Peace. Real peace. The kind that doesn't depend on who texts back, who compliments you, or who chooses you. It's the quiet power of someone who knows that rejection doesn't reduce value, it reveals truth. You are not behind in life because you don't meet the world's shallow standards. You are ahead because you are building something deeper, substance. The world rewards surface, but life rewards substance. Surface will get you noticed for a moment, but substance will make you unforgettable forever. The people who laughed at you, ignored you, dismissed you, they were never rejecting you, they were rejecting the mirror you held up to their emptiness. Because when someone stands firm in authenticity, it exposes how hollow pretense really is. Understand this. Attraction built on looks may open doors, but attraction built on energy opens hearts. And energy cannot be bought, faked, or filtered. It's built through the pain you've survived, the lessons you've learned, the strength you've earned. That's the kind of beauty that changes lives, not timelines. That's the kind of beauty that doesn't fade when you age, because it lives in the way you think, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself through this world. You've been taught that being desirable means being chosen, but real power is in choosing. Choosing yourself when others don't. Choosing peace over pressure. Choosing to walk away from anyone who makes you feel like you need to earn love. Because love was never meant to be earned. It was meant to be shared between two people who see value in each other's soul. When you stop begging for love and start embodying it, you stop attracting what hurts you and start magnetizing what heals you. You don't need everyone to see your worth. You only need to see it long enough for the right ones to feel it, because those who are meant for you will never need convincing. They will see beauty in your truth, not despite it. So stop waiting for the world to give you permission to shine. Stop apologizing for the way you look, feel, or love. Stand where you are and own every piece of yourself, because the moment you do, you'll realize something profound. You were never unattractive. You were just surrounded by people too blind to see real beauty. The truth is, every moment you've spent feeling invisible was never wasted. It was shaping you into someone who sees life from the inside out. You felt what it means to be overlooked, and that experience carved empathy into your soul. You understand loneliness in a way that makes you value connection more deeply than those who've only known attention. That's your hidden strength. The ones who have suffered the most often love the best because they know the cost of being unseen. You've been forced to find beauty in silence, meaning in solitude, and confidence without applause. And that's why your power is real. It wasn't built on compliments, it was built on courage. You see, the harsh reality of modern dating is not that you're unattractive. It's that people have forgotten how to see. They scroll past souls while chasing faces. They confuse instant attraction with long-term compatibility. They mistake performance for personality. But here's what they don't realize. When the noise fades, when the thrill dies, and when the filters come off, only authenticity remains. And that's where your value shines. You don't have to compete with illusions when you've become the truth. Society has conditioned people to crave validation more than connection, to chase attention instead of understanding. But you're breaking that pattern. You're stepping out of that illusion. Every time you refuse to compromise your worth for temporary affection, you raise your vibration. Every time you say no to fake love, you make room for something real. That's not weakness, that's evolution. You're not unlucky, you're being refined. You're not unwanted, you're being aligned with something higher than the shallow desires of the crowd. Psychologically, the moment you detach your sense of worth from external approval, your entire nervous system begins to change. You stop living in fight or flight, constantly seeking acceptance. You begin to regulate your energy, to ground yourself in peace, to breathe again. And in that calmness, you become powerful in a way most never reach. Because power isn't about control, it's about presence. It's the energy of someone who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't prove. Someone who simply is. That is what draws real love, not desperation but wholeness, not perfection but peace. The right person will never need you to perform beauty or mask your insecurities. They'll meet you where you are, not where society says you should be, and you'll recognize them not by how they look at you, but by how they make you feel, safe, seen, respected, valued. Because real love doesn't ignite through lust, it grows through recognition. It's the soul saying, I remember you. You don't need to become more beautiful to be worthy of that kind of love. You just need to become more yourself. Peel off every layer of pretense, every filter of fear, every insecurity that whispers you're not enough. Beneath all of that is your true self, raw, imperfect, radiant. And that self doesn't need fixing, it needs freedom. So stop trying to fit into a world that profits from your self-doubt. The more you heal, the less you'll crave validation. The less you chase, the more you'll attract. And one day, you'll realize the very thing that once made you feel unattractive was never a flaw. It was the foundation of your depth, your resilience, your power to love differently in a world that forgot what love means. You've spent too long believing that love is something you earn by becoming more desirable. But love was never a prize for the beautiful, it's a reflection of the energy you bring into the world. When you stop trying to impress and start trying to express, everything changes. You begin to attract from authenticity, not from fear. You stop waiting to be chosen because you realize you were never meant to compete. You were meant to connect. The pain you once felt from being unseen becomes the fire that shapes your presence. You start walking differently, not because the world finally approves, but because you finally do. It's easy to think beauty holds the power, but beauty fades the moment it lacks depth. The human mind may be drawn to appearance, but the human heart responds to truth. You've always had something deeper, a light that doesn't need to be liked to shine. The only reason you couldn't see it before is because you were looking at yourself through the eyes of those who couldn't see beyond the surface. When you stop borrowing their vision, clarity returns. You start to see your strength, your wisdom, your uniqueness, the kind of beauty that doesn't vanish with age or change with trends. Every moment you've doubted yourself was an invitation to rise higher. Every rejection was a redirection. Every time someone didn't see your worth, the universe was whispering, "You're looking in the wrong direction. You weren't supposed to be loved by everyone. You were meant to be understood by a few. That's why your path feels harder, because it's sacred." Your growth doesn't come from approval, it comes from awakening. Awakening to the truth that love found outside of yourself will never heal what's unhealed within. Modern dating has made people forget how to connect without conditions. Everyone is performing, everyone is pretending, everyone is trying to win. But connection was never meant to be a competition. Real love doesn't need to be earned through attraction, it needs to be recognized through resonance. When you radiate peace, purpose, and presence, you attract people who are done with pretending too. That's when you realize you were never behind. You were being prepared for something real while everyone else was chasing illusions. Psychologically, the human brain craves authenticity. It senses when someone is at ease within themselves. That ease translates to safety, and safety is what builds trust, intimacy, and true attraction. When you reach that level of inner peace, You no longer wonder who will love you. You know the right ones will, because they'll feel the same truth you carry. The energy of someone who's whole draws people who are ready to grow, not just play. So stop wishing to be seen by the world and start seeing yourself with the eyes of love. The world's vision is shallow. Don't let it define you. The right person will look at you and see the story in your silence, the strength in your scars, the beauty in your becoming. That kind of connection can't be bought, faked, or forced. It's earned through truth. And when that love arrives, it won't feel like you're finally enough. It'll feel like you've been enough all along. Because real love doesn't complete you. It meets you where you've already learned to stand whole. When you finally stop chasing what isn't meant for you, you create space for what is. The emptiness you once feared becomes freedom. You stop trying to fit into people's preferences and start standing in your truth. The world told you that being unattractive meant being undesirable, but that was never the truth. It was conditioning. The real tragedy isn't being unseen by others, it's being unseen by yourself. The moment you see your worth clearly, you realize that rejection was never loss. It was protection. Protection from places where your soul would have been misunderstood, where your love would have been undervalued, where your energy would have been drained by people too shallow to hold it. You begin to understand that attraction has less to do with looks and more to do with presence. Presence can't be bought, copied, or faked. It's a silent authority that says, I know who I am. It's the energy that shifts rooms, the calm that draws attention without effort, the quiet confidence that doesn't ask to be noticed but somehow always is. People spend their lives chasing external beauty while ignoring the one kind that never fades, the beauty of peace. Peace in your tone. Peace in your body language. Peace in how you respond when life tests you. That kind of beauty cannot be ignored for long because it's felt, not seen. Psychology proves that humans are drawn to certainty. When you carry yourself with self-assurance, people subconsciously feel safer around you. They trust your calmness. They admire your composure. Even those who once overlooked you start sensing something different, not because your face changed, but because your frequency did. Energy doesn't lie. The person who once doubted themselves begins to move like someone who knows they bring value. That shift is magnetic. That's when life begins to mirror your belief back to you. The irony is that when you stop needing to be loved, you become impossible to ignore, because nothing radiates more beauty than emotional independence. It's rare, it's powerful, it's what most people secretly crave, the ability to love deeply without losing themselves. You start to attract from overflow, not from emptiness. You're no longer begging for connection because you've built it within. You're not chasing attention because you've already found acceptance in your own reflection. The world's standards of attractiveness are temporary illusions, built to make you forget your infinite worth. The deeper truth is that beauty fades, but presence endures. The skin changes, the face ages, the body shifts, but the soul, when it's alive with purpose, becomes timeless. You may not be everyone's idea of attractive, but that's because you're not meant to be ordinary. You're meant to be real. And real is what people remember long after perfection is forgotten. The harsh reality of modern dating is that most people are too distracted to recognize real connection. But that's not your problem to fix. Your only task is to keep becoming more whole, more self-aware, more grounded in who you are, because one day someone will meet you and feel peace, not pressure. They'll feel home, not hunger. And when that happens, you'll realize why nothing before ever worked. Because everything before was just leading you back to yourself. The love you've been waiting for was never out there. It was growing quietly inside you, waiting for you to see it first. The most powerful shift happens when you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What have I been taught to believe about myself?" Because nothing is wrong with you. What's wrong is the lens the world gave you. A lens designed to keep you doubting your worth so you never realize your power. The system profits from your insecurity. Every image, every ad, every voice telling you you're not enough is crafted to make you chase something you already have. They don't sell beauty, they sell comparison. And once you see that clearly, you take your power back. You stop living as a consumer of validation and start living as the creator of self-worth. Confidence isn't loud, and it isn't built overnight. It's built in quiet moments. The ones where you choose to stay kind when bitterness would be easier, where you choose to show up even when no one notices, where you choose self-respect instead of chasing attention. Those small moments compound into unshakable power. That's the kind of strength that no mirror can measure, because it's not on your face, it's in your energy. You become someone who no longer asks to be loved, because you've learned how to love yourself through every season, every rejection, every silence. That's rare. That's divine. When you live from that place, people begin to sense something different about you. They can't always explain it, but they feel it. The calmness, the confidence, the absence of desperation. It disarms them because most people are used to performance. They're used to masks. But you carry no disguise. You walk in truth, and truth has gravity. It pulls what aligns and repels what doesn't. You no longer chase love because anything that needs to be chased isn't love, it's fear. Love flows toward peace, not panic. Psychologists call it self-concept, the story you believe about who you are. When that story changes, everything in your reality follows. You stop interpreting rejection as proof of inadequacy and start seeing it as direction toward alignment. You stop settling for attention that costs you your peace. You stop over-explaining, over-giving, over-trying. Because real connection doesn't require you to shrink. The moment you decide that being yourself is enough, the world begins to adjust to your energy. The right people stay, the wrong ones fade. And you no longer mourn what leaves, because you trust that nothing meant for you can miss you. There's a sacred kind of beauty that comes from someone who's made peace with being misunderstood. You carry a quiet strength that doesn't need to announce itself. You know your value isn't up for negotiation. You understand that your journey is not about being desired by many, but about being seen deeply by one, and first by yourself. That kind of awareness transforms loneliness into solitude, pain into purpose, rejection into redirection. You were never meant to chase love through a crowd that can't see your soul. You were meant to rise above it. To show that confidence built from within shines brighter than any kind of validation the world could offer. The moment you embrace that truth, you stop being the one waiting to be chosen and become the one who chooses. You choose peace over pressure, purpose over popularity, self-worth over superficiality, and that choice, made again and again, is what turns everything that once hurt you into the very force that makes you unstoppable.